I never thought I was going to have to say these words, but it is now time to talk in defense of Don Quixote. So, as you all know, I am a big fan of the book Don Quixote, and by big fan, I think it's one of the greatest things in the universe. I mean, it's definitely up there. But anyways, I've realized something here recently. A lot of internet people and a lot of literary critics and a lot of these people are trying to make the argument that it isn't a good book. You know, I watched an episode, I think it was a show called Thug Notes, I think, and just people trying to look at this book from the modern viewpoint. And I would like to stand up and defend this book because I think it's the greatest book ever, and I don't even think there's any question about it. I don't think any other book comes close. So I'm going to examine some of the common complaints about it and find out why this book is just as good as pretty much everyone says it is. We're going to start this video by talking about the end. So anyways, the ending is one of the most criticized parts about this book. And I'm not talking about just the fact that it's a sad ending, because, I mean, to be fair to Miguel Cervantes, there was somebody who was plagiarizing his character, and he wanted to end it off so that he would basically get the money. He had to kill off Don Quixote, in my opinion. But anyways, the ending has been criticized because Don Quixote gives up chivalry and gives up all that romantic glory in the exchange for just being kind of a normal dude that, has just been reading way too many books. And I have to say that when I first read it, I kind of felt the same way as these critics do. But looking at it again, I start to realize that maybe there's some truth to what Cervantes says. So certainly, it can't be proven that Don Quixote shouldn't give up chivalry. Take a look at some of the actions that Don Quixote commits as this romantic knight. He beats people. He frees a bunch of prisoners, some of those who are murderers. He could have literally got people killed, and he might have gotten people killed. We just don't know that. That might have been in some other pages. So, I mean, I'm okay with people having their own viewpoints. If you want to believe Daniel Radcliffe is a unicorn, I'm fine with that. You want to believe in Santa Claus? Go right ahead. Live in your fairy tale world. But when you actually start to harm people, you do have to raise the question, should this person be allowed to believe these things? And Miguel Cervantes brings this question up, and whether you agree with it or not, it's still a question that we haven't really decided upon. So I don't think Miguel Cervantes should be faulted here. In fact, I can't help but think maybe he's right. Maybe there is a limit to how crazy a person should be. And now the second criticism, that this isn't the greatest book ever, which are words that I don't like to even utter. But yeah, there's the big debate is whether this actually is the greatest story, because it has a lot of competition. The Great Gatsby, Gulliver's Travel, if you can believe it, Adventure of Huckleberry Finn is considered sometimes better than Don Quixote, which I just think is offensive. I like that book, but I mean, that's another episode. But anyways, I would argue that it is the greatest book ever. You have never seen two characters like Don Quixote and Sancho Panza before, and no one's ever been able to do them as well. But they managed to inspire pretty much every comedic team that's ever existed, from Abbott and Costello to Laurel and Hardy. And it's not just Don Quixote and Sancho Panza. Pretty much every character in this book is incredible. And I like the character of Dorothy. I mean, she's a very strong female character, and I don't even know why. I mean, I guess there is some sexism with the women, but it's his time period. It's 400 years ago. I'm not going to throw too much at him for that. It's 400 years ago. You can't blame him for that. But anyways, yeah, the plot's great too. Great character development. In fact, the character development in this story convinced me that character development was okay, because I originally thought it wasn't very realistic, but watching it done in Don Quixote, I was convinced there was some truth to it. So I can't imagine any story having as much impact as Don Quixote did. You know, other stories are argued about. There's writers that say they're not good. Even William Shakespeare, Leo Tolstoy, and J.R.R. Tolkien would criticize Shakespeare. No one criticized Don Quixote. In fact, Charles Dickens and I think even maybe Leo Tolstoy read Don Quixote like it was the Bible every single year. So, yeah, I don't think there's any question about it. Don Quixote is the winner. So, what have we learned today? Basically, that the book is as good as everyone thinks it is. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's my favorite book, and I encourage you to go read this book. I know it's a lot of pages, but think about all these books that people have been writing for hundreds of years, just giving away their souls and their pure emotion, sometimes being physically disabled in certain cases. You can just give them this one read, just to say, I don't like reading books, but I'm going to do this one thing for you and read the greatest book of all time. So please, just go ahead and read it. And as always, think big, think differently.